The night the Alpha King tried to shame a waitress with a dead language, the entire tavern learned that crowns can be wrong. Mara Vane stood beneath the smoke-stained rafters of the Hollow Heart with a tray of silver cups balanced against her hip, her pale fingers stiff from washing mugs in freezing water since dawn. No one looked at her unless they wanted more ale, a cleaner table, or someone powerless enough to blame. That was how she survived in the shadow of Blackthorn Citadel. She became useful. She became quiet. She became invisible. Then the door opened, and invisibility died. The fire in the hearth bent low as if bowing. Every voice in the room collapsed into silence. Soldiers straightened. Nobles lowered their eyes. Even the tavern master stopped breathing for a second. King Aldrich Thornvale stepped inside wearing a black travel cloak dusted with rain, his broad shoulders filling the doorway like a storm given human shape. His hair was dark, his face sharp and cold, his eyes a pale winter gold that moved across the room and made every wolf remember its throat. Mara kept her gaze on the tray. Kings did not notice girls like her. That was the rule. But rules had a cruel habit of breaking around men like him. At the corner table, Lord Osric Veilheart unfolded an ancient parchment sealed with moon wax. Beside him sat Lady Isolde Greymarch, beautiful, pale, and polished as a blade, her smile faint with boredom. "The contract is written in Eldrin, Your Majesty," Osric said. "The servant can bring wine while your scholars prepare a translation." Mara felt the word servant land on her shoulders, familiar and heavy. She set the cups down without a sound. Aldrich watched her hands. "You," he said. His voice was not loud, but it filled the tavern anyway. "Do you understand obedience?" A few nobles laughed under their breath. Mara lowered her eyes. "I understand work, Your Majesty." Something unreadable passed over his face. Pride, perhaps. Suspicion. Or the old habit of a king surrounded by liars, testing anything that stood too still. Aldrich looked at the parchment, then spoke in Eldrin, each ancient syllable rough with command. The room did not understand the words, but they understood the tone. "Kneel. Answer. Be small." Lady Isolde covered a smile with her wine cup. The soldiers waited for Mara to blush, stumble, or drop to the floor. Mara felt her mother's warning rise from memory, like a hand on her shoulder. Never speak Eldrin before a king unless the moon answers first. She almost stayed silent. Silence had kept her alive. Silence had paid for bread. Silence had hidden the book beneath her floorboards and the name buried in her blood. Then Aldrich repeated the phrase, "Colder this time," and Mara heard the error clearly. Not just a mistake. An insult made by ignorance. Slowly, she placed the tray on the table. The tavern master went pale. Mara lifted her chin and met the Alpha King's eyes. "Your Majesty," she said, calm enough for every person in the room to hear, "your grammar is wrong." The silence that followed was so complete that rain against the windows sounded like stones. Aldrich did not move. "Say that again." Mara should have been afraid. She was afraid, but fear and dignity could live in the same body. "The verb form you used does not command me to kneel," she said. "It assumes I am already beneath you. If you meant to say, kneel and answer your king, the correct form is Valershin Arun Kel, not Valershin Aaron Kel. One word changes obedience into humiliation." The nobles stared at her as if the floor had spoken. Lady Isolde's smile vanished. Lord Osric's fingers tightened around the parchment. Aldrich stood, and the chair behind him scraped across the floor like thunder under glass. He was enormous up close, all restraint and royal danger, yet his eyes no longer held mockery. They held shock. Mara knew she had crossed a line no waitress was supposed to see, much less step over. Aldrich reached toward the parchment, but the moonstone ring on his hand flared with silver light before his fingers touched it. The glow spilled across the table, climbed the ancient ink, and stopped on Mara's wrist like it had found something it had been hunting for years. A low sound rose from Aldrich's chest, not anger, not command, but recognition. Mara took one step back. Every wolf in the tavern turned toward her, and from the sealed parchment, in letters no hand had written, A single Eldrin word burned bright enough for the whole room to read. Luna. Mara did not remember walking back through the rain to the servants' stairs behind the hollow heart, only the feeling of every eye following her as if she had stopped being a waitress and become a question no one dared to answer. By midnight, the tavern was locked, the hearth was low, and the whole building seemed to hold its breath around her. She climbed the narrow steps to the room she rented above the storage shed, a room barely wider than a wagon, with one cracked window, one thin mattress, and a ceiling so low she had learned to bend without thinking. This was the kingdom she owned. For walls, a rusted wash basin, 2 dresses, and a loose floorboard beneath the bed that carried the only treasure her mother had ever left behind. Downstairs, men were still whispering about the silver light on the Alpha King's ring. They whispered the word Luna like it was dangerous enough to summon a blade. Mara pressed her back against the door and closed her eyes. She was 23 years old, pale from long hours inside. With ash-brown hair she kept tied away from her face and gray eyes her mother once called moon-touched. To everyone in Blackthorn, she was the girl with no pack, no father, no wolf strong enough to scent, and no bloodline worth naming. The tavern master called her useful when he was pleased and stray when he was not. The noble soldiers called her girl because learning her name would have made her too human. Mara had survived by letting their words pass over her like winter rain. A stray could slip through alleys. A girl could listen without being noticed. A nobody could live longer than someone foolish enough to shine. But tonight she had shone. She knelt beside the bed, lifted the floorboard, and pulled out the book wrapped in linen the color of old bone. The Moon lexicon felt warm in her hands, warmer than the room, warmer than it should have been. Its cracked leather cover carried no title, only a crescent mark pressed, so deep it looked like a scar. Her mother, Aloan Vane, had taught her the first Eldrin letters by candlelight when Mara was 6. Not as lessons, but as lullabies. Speak softly, her mother would whisper. Words remember, who owns them? When Mara was 10, a royal patrol came searching the lower quarter for forbidden texts. Her mother burned half their belongings in the stove before dawn and made Mara swear she would never read Eldrin where a king could hear. When Mara was 15, Aloan died with one hand around Mara's wrist and fear in her voice. Never speak Eldrin before a king, she had said, unless the moon answers first. Mara had spent 8 years pretending she did not understand why those words felt like a door locked from the other side. She opened the lexicon now. The pages should have been familiar, filled with prayers, grammar lines, and old laws no one living cared to obey. Instead, the ink moved, slowly at first, then faster. Dark strokes sliding across the parchment like shadows under ice. Mara stopped breathing. A line formed in the center of the page, written in perfect Eldrin, brighter than candle flame. Daughter of Lunareth, the crown has heard you. Beneath it, a second line appeared. The king will come before dawn. Mara looked toward the window. Far above the rooftops, Blackthorn Citadel rose against the moon, black towers sharp as teeth. Then a sound rolled through the night, deep, controlled, and unmistakable. Royal wolves were crossing the street below her room. The first royal wolf appeared beneath Mara's window like a shadow torn loose from the moonlight, massive and silent, its silver eyes lifted straight to her room. Then another step from the alley. Then 3 more. They did not growl. They did not scratch at the door. They simply waited, and somehow that was worse. Mara wrapped the moon lexicon in its linen cloth and held it against her chest as footsteps climbed the narrow stairs below. The tavern master's voice rose in panic, soft and pleading, followed by a calmer voice that made the entire building seem smaller. I am not here for your ale. Mara knew that voice. King Aldrich Thornvale reached the top of the stairs with Beta Torin Ashwick behind him, both dressed in dark riding cloaks wet from the rain. Torin's eyes flicked. Once to the book in Mara's arms, sharp enough to cut a lie in half. Aldrich looked only at her. In the weak candlelight, he seemed less like a guest and more like a judgment the room had been too poor to deserve. Mara Vane, he said, you will come with me to Blackthorn Citadel. Her fingers tightened around the book. As a prisoner? Something passed through his winter gold eyes, quick and unreadable. As someone my court has been trying to find for a very long time. That should have comforted her. It did not. People searched for lost treasures. They also searched for threats. Mara lifted her chin, even though her heartbeat was racing. Your court does not know me. No, Aldrich said quietly. But the Moonstone did. Torrin stepped aside, leaving the stairway open, and for one strange second Mara realized they were not dragging her. They were waiting for her to choose the first step. That small mercy unsettled her more than chains would have. She followed them into the rain. The street outside the Hollow Heart had filled with silent faces peering from doorways. No one spoke as the waitress with a forbidden book walked between royal wolves toward the black carriage marked with the Thornvale crest. By dawn, Blackthorn Citadel rose above her like a mountain carved into a crown, all dark stone, iron gates, and banners snapping in the cold wind. Mara had served nobles who bragged about these halls. None of their stories had captured the weight of walking through them with muddy hems and servant shoes. Every guard stared. Every whisper followed. In the great entry hall, Lady Isolde Greymarch waited beside Lord Osric, dressed in pale velvet as if dawn itself had been tailored for her. Her smile was perfect and cruel enough to hide a blade. Your Majesty, she said, never taking her eyes off Mara. You brought the tavern girl into the Citadel. How generous. Shall we have the floors scrubbed again after she leaves? Mara felt the insult land, but she gave it no blood. Before she could answer, Aldrich turned his head. The hall chilled. No one in my house speaks for me. Isolde's smile faltered. It was not an apology, not warmth, but it was a line drawn in stone, and Mara felt the shape of it. Aldrich led her to the Royal Archive, a circular chamber lined with books older than most packs. Scholars waited around a black marble table, their faces tight with suspicion. Lord Osric placed a cracked silver tablet before her. Translate this, he said, unless last night was only a lucky performance. Mara looked at the tablet. The Eldrin was old, older than her mother's lessons, but the meaning rose through her like a memory waking up. It is not a tax record, she said. It is a mourning vow. A scholar scoffed. Impossible. Mara pointed to the final line. You copied it backward. Silence spread through the archive. Aldrich moved closer, close enough that Mara felt the strange pull of him before she felt his shadow. His gaze dropped to the linen-wrapped book in her arms. Who taught you this language? Mara swallowed once. A woman your court erased. The word struck harder than she intended. For the first time, Aldrich looked less like a king and more like a man standing at the edge of a truth he feared. He reached for the moon lexicon. Mara should have stepped back. She did not. His fingers brushed the cover, and the old crescent mark flashed silver. At the same moment, the scar circling Aldrich's wrist burned with the same light, bright enough to make every scholar stumble away. Mara heard Torrin whisper a prayer. Aldrich stared at his own skin as if it had betrayed him. Then the moon lexicon opened by itself, and a line of Eldrin appeared across the page. The king was marked before the Luna was born. The words in the moon lexicon did not fade after they appeared. They stayed there, bright and impossible, while every scholar in the Royal Archive stared as if the book had opened a door beneath their feet. The king was marked before the Luna was born. Mara felt the sentence move through the room like a living thing. Lord Osric was the first to recover. A clever trick, he said, though his voice had lost its polish. Old ink can be warmed. Hidden lettering can be planted. A tavern girl with a forbidden book could prepare many illusions. Aldrich did not look at him. His gaze remained on the silver light circling his own wrist. The scar that had been there long before Mara had ever stepped inside Blackthorn Citadel. Leave us, he said. The scholars froze. Osric opened his mouth, but Beta Torrin stepped forward before a single argument could escape. The king gave an order. Chairs scraped. Robes whispered. Lady Isolde lingered at the doorway, her pale eyes fixed on Mara with a hatred too elegant to be called panic. Then the archive door shut, and the silence left behind felt dangerously intimate. Mara stood across the black marble table from Aldrich, the moon lexicon open between them. He was close enough for her to see the controlled tension in his jaw, the restraint of a man used to ruling storms inside his own skin.
"Did you know?" he asked.
About the mark? No. About Lunareth? Mara lowered her eyes to the glowing page. I knew my mother was afraid of the name. I knew she burned letters when royal patrols came near. I knew she made me hide every part of myself that was useful. Her voice tightened, but she did not let it break. That is not the same as knowing. Aldrich studied her, and for the first time, his attention did not feel like judgment. It felt like something heavier. Regret, perhaps, though kings rarely wore that emotion where anyone could see. Last night I tested you, he said. I know. I misjudged you. Mara gave a small, humorless smile. Most people do. They usually enjoy it more. The words landed between them sharper than she meant. Aldrich looked away first. That surprised her. A king could command a room, silence a court, move armies across mountains, yet one quiet truth from a waitress had made him turn his face toward the rain-streaked window. You will remain in the Citadel until this is understood, he said. That sounds like a softer word for trapped. It is protection. Protection decided without asking still feels like a cage. His eyes returned to hers. A flash of gold moved through them. Not anger, but instinct pulled tight on a chain. Then I am asking. Mara did not expect that. She expected command, suspicion, maybe another test. Not a choice offered in a voice rough enough to reveal it cost him something. Before she could answer, the archive. Doors opened again, and Torin entered with a stack of copied tablets. His expression was grim. The council requests a formal translation trial by moonrise. They have selected the passages themselves. Mara understood at once. A trap. Torin did not deny it. Aldrich took the top tablet, scanned the symbols, and his face hardened. They chose burial law. Why does that matter? Mara asked. Torin looked at her carefully. Because one wrong word can make an innocent bloodline sound cursed. By moonrise, Mara stood in the Hall of Records before 12 council members, 3 royal scholars, Lady Isolde, Lord Osric, and the Alpha King himself. The tablet placed before her had been altered. Not enough for a careless reader to notice. Enough to destroy her if she translated it their way. Mara felt every stare pressing against her back. She thought of her mother's hands guiding hers over old letters. She thought of 8 years of silence. Then she read the passage aloud, correcting each false mark with a calm that made the council shift in their seats. This is not a curse, Mara said. It is a protection vow for the last Luna child. The hall went still. A pulse of silver light flashed beneath her palm. Her knees weakened, but Aldrich was there before she fell. One hand steady at her elbow, warm and careful and nothing like a cage. For one breath, the world narrowed to the rain-cold scent of him, cedar, iron, and night air. Something answered inside Mara, ancient and terrified. Aldrich went completely still. His wolf looked through his eyes, and in the silence between their heartbeats, a single word seemed to shake the bond awake.
Mate. Mate.
The word did not come from Mara, yet it moved through her like a bell struck beneath frozen water. Aldrich released her elbow as if gentleness itself had become dangerous, but the space between them stayed alive, pulled tight by something older than law and stronger than fear. Around them, the Hall of Records had gone silent in a way no royal command could have forced. Council members stared at the silver glow beneath Mara's palm. Lady Isolde looked at Aldrich's hand where it had touched her, and for the first time, her perfect face showed something raw. Lord Osric stepped forward, his robes whispering over the marble. A physical reaction proves nothing, he said. Old blood can awaken old tricks. The trial must continue. Aldrich's eyes turned on him. Careful. One word, quiet as falling snow, and every wolf in the chamber lowered its gaze. Mara should have felt protected. Instead, she felt the floor dropping away beneath her life. She had come to the Citadel as a waitress with a hidden book. Now the court was looking at her as if she could either save a kingdom or burn it down. Torin moved to the table and uncovered a second relic, a narrow crown of black silver and pale moonstone. It had no jewels except one empty crescent at the center, shaped like it was waiting for a missing star. Mara heard several council members inhale sharply.
The moon crown, Torrin said.
It has not answered a woman in 26 years. Lady Isolde lifted her chin. Because the rightful Luna has not yet been chosen. Her voice was smooth again, but her hands were locked together too tightly. Osric gave a measured bow. Then let Lady Isolde attempt the right. She is noble-born, properly trained, and recognized by the council. Mara understood the performance. They were not testing the crown. They were trying to bury the truth under ceremony. Isolde stepped forward with graceful certainty, placed her pale fingers on the moon crown, and spoke a rehearsed Eldrin Va. The words were beautiful. Empty, but beautiful. The crown remained dark. A murmur moved through the hall. Isolde's smile stiffened. She tried again louder. Still nothing. Then the moon lexicon, resting open beside Mara, turned its own pages without wind. The sound was soft, but it made the room feel smaller. A new passage revealed itself, written in ink that shone like starlight. Mara read it before she could stop herself. No Alpha King of Ravenhold is whole beneath the old law until the last daughter of Lunareth wakes the crown. Torrin went pale. A scholar dropped his quill. Aldrich did not move, but Mara felt the bond inside him tighten, like a wolf lifting its head.
Continue, he said.
Mara swallowed. The crown does not choose beauty. It does not choose rank. It does not choose the council's favorite bride. It answers the bloodline that guarded the first pack from the dark beneath the throne. The final phrase chilled the hall. Even Aldrich's expression changed. The dark beneath the throne, he repeated. Osric moved too fast toward the book. Enough. Aldrich caught his wrist before he touched the page. No violence.
No spectacle.
Just a king's hand closing like iron, and a chancellor suddenly remembering he served someone more dangerous than himself. Why are you afraid of a translation? Aldrich asked. Osric smiled, but it was thin now. Because false prophecy has ruined kingdoms. Mara looked down at the page again, and this time the letters shifted into a name. Eloan Vane of Lunareth, last hidden guardian. My mother, Mara thought, and the words struck so deeply she nearly forgot to breathe. Her mother had not been a frightened servant hiding from royal patrols. She had been the last shield between Ravenhold and whatever the old kings had locked away. The moon crown lifted from the table, without hands. It floated past Lady Isolde, past the council, past Aldrich himself, and stopped in the air before Mara. The empty crescent at its center filled with silver light. Every wolf in the hall bent under the pressure of it. Mara did not reach for the crown. She could not. She was still the girl who had slept above a storage shed, still the waitress who had learned to disappear. Aldrich stepped beside her, not in front of her, and said in a voice only she could hear, "You do not have to prove your worth to people who stole the truth from you." For one breath, Mara believed him. Then the great doors burst open, and a royal guard fell to one knee. "Your Majesty," he said, breathless. "The lower archives have been opened from the inside. The sealed chamber is awake." The moon crown flashed once, sharp as lightning, and from beneath the citadel came the sound of something ancient knocking against stone. The sound beneath Blackthorn Citadel was not loud, but it changed every face in the hall. It came again, slow and hollow, like a giant heart beating behind miles of stone. The moon crown trembled before Mara, its silver light flickering as if the thing below had recognized her too. Aldrich turned toward the guard. "Seal every lower passage." Lord Osric pulled free from the king's grip and raised his voice before the order could settle. "You see it now, Your Majesty. The chamber slept for generations until this girl touched the crown. She has not awakened Ravenholt's blessing. She has awakened its curse." The council erupted at once. Some stepped back from Mara. Others reached for old charms hidden beneath their robes. Lady Isolde moved with perfect timing, one hand pressed to her throat, her eyes shining with practiced fear. "I warned you," she whispered, just loud enough for everyone to hear. She came from nowhere with forbidden words and a false book. Now the sealed chamber opens. Mara stared at her. "You knew about the chamber." Isolde's lips parted, but Osric answered first. Every noble family knows what servants should not. The insult was small compared to the accusation, but it cut through Mara's last thread of patience. My mother died hiding the truth your court buried. Do not speak to me about what servants should know. Aldrich looked at her then, and for one breath Mara saw the pull inside him. The king, the wolf, the man who had caught her before she fell. The ruler surrounded by council members demanding certainty from a world built on lies. Torrin stepped close to Aldrich and spoke low. Something is wrong. The lower archive doors cannot open without a council seal. Osric heard him and smiled. Then question her book. Question her blood. Question why the so-called hidden Luna arrived on the exact night the old prison woke. A scholar hurried forward with a torn strip of parchment. Your Majesty, this was found near the lower stair. He held it up with shaking fingers. The writing was Eldrin, but Mara knew before reading it that it was wrong.
Too clean. Too convenient.
Osric read the false translation aloud. The daughter of Lunareth shall open the dark beneath the throne and bind the king by blood. A gasp rolled through the chamber. Mara reached for the parchment. That is not the original structure. The verb is altered. Of course it is, Isolde said, softly. Every lie becomes a mistranslation when it fails. Aldrich's voice cut through the room. Enough. Everyone fell silent. He looked at Mara, and the bond between them ached like a bruise. Can you prove it was altered? Mara held his gaze. Not while the people who altered it control the evidence. That answer cost her. She saw it in the stillness of his shoulders. He wanted to believe her. He also knew that a king who ignored a possible threat beneath his own citadel could doom every pack under his crown. Until the chamber is secured, Aldrich said, each word measured. The moon lexicon remains in royal custody. Mara felt the room vanish around her. You are taking my mother's book. I am protecting the kingdom. No, she said, her voice quiet but clear. You are asking me to trust the same court that erased her. Aldrich took one step toward her. Mara. That was all. Just her name. It almost broke her more than a command would have. She placed the moon lexicon on the black marble table with careful hands. Then she removed the moonstone ring he had given her to hold during the trial and set it beside the book. A king who needs permission to see the truth is not ready for a Luna. The word struck him.
She saw it.
She also saw he would not stop her in front of them without making her prisoner. So Mara turned and walked out of the Hall of Records with every noble watching, her servant shoes echoing against royal stone. No one followed until she reached the outer courtyard and the rain swallowed her whole. By the time she crossed the last bridge from the citadel, the moon had disappeared behind black clouds. In the forest beyond the walls, something moved low through the mist. One silver hound stepped onto the road, then another, their eyes fixed on the faint glow beginning beneath Mara's skin. Mara ran until the road disappeared behind her and the forest of grave pine closed around her like a fist. Rain threaded through the black branches, cold enough to numb her fingers, loud enough to hide the sound of her own breath, but not loud enough to cover the silver hounds. They moved through the mist behind her with terrible patience, pale shapes slipping. Between trees, never rushing, never losing her scent. The glow beneath her skin brightened with every step, a soft moonlit pulse that made hiding impossible. She pressed one hand against her wrist, willing the light to stop, but the old blood did not obey fear. It had slept for 23 years. Now it was awake, and the forest knew her name. A fallen root caught her foot, and she stumbled hard against the base of an ancient pine. The moon lexicon was gone. The king had kept it. Her mother's last voice was locked behind citadel walls, and Mara had only the fragments left inside her memory. Never speak Eldrin before a king unless the moon answers first. But there was no king here. Only rain, wolves, and the sound of silver claws touching wet stone. The first hound stepped into the clearing, lean and silent, its eyes reflecting the glow in her skin. Then the others circled wide, cutting off every path except the one leading deeper into the ruins below Grave Pine Hill. Mara backed away until her shoulders touched a broken standing stone carved with half-buried Eldrin symbols. The marks warmed under her touch. Not a warning, an answer. She closed her eyes and spoke the forbidden line her mother had once whispered only in dreams. Lunareth Arvensoul, carry the lost daughter home. The clouds above split open. Moonlight poured through the rain like a silver blade, striking the standing stones one by one. The hounds froze. Far away, beyond the trees, a roar rolled through the night, so deep and furious that every branch shivered. At Blackthorn Citadel, Aldrich Thornvale stood in the lower archive with the moon lexicon open before him when his moonstone ring shattered across his palm. The false parchment beside it burned white at the edges, revealing the true words hidden beneath Osric's ink. The daughter of Lunareth shall close the dark beneath the throne and free the king from the ancient chain. Torrin looked up, pale with realization. Mara was telling the truth. Aldrich was already moving. The wolf under his skin did not ask permission from the crown, the council, or the fear that had held him still. He tore through the citadel gates with the royal wolves behind him, a black storm racing beneath the moon. In Grave Pine, the silver hounds began to advance again, forced forward by a command that was not their own. Mara lifted a broken branch with shaking hands, not because she believed it would save her, but because she refused to meet the dark on her knees. Then the forest exploded with motion. A massive black wolf struck the earth between Mara and the hounds, larger than any creature she had ever seen, his eyes burning winter gold. The royal wolves fanned out behind him, silent, disciplined, unstoppable. The hounds lowered themselves at once, trembling under the weight of alpha dominance. The black wolf shifted in a rush of moonlight and shadow, and King Aldrich stood before her in the rain, cloak torn by the wind, face carved with fury and something far more painful. "No one hunts my Luna," he said. His voice did not rise. It did not need to. The forest itself seemed to bow. Mara stared at him, soaked, shaking, too wounded by the haul to trust the rescue completely. "You took her book." Aldrich turned slowly, and the anger in his eyes softened into regret. "I was wrong." 2 words.
No excuse.
No throne between them. He held out the moon lexicon, wrapped safely in his cloak. "Your mother was guarding me before I was born. And you were never the curse, Mara. You are the lock." The standing stones flared behind her. Silver light climbed her arms, crossed her throat, and gathered at her brow. Aldrich's breath caught. The hounds fled into the trees as every royal wolf sank low to the ground. Mara touched the new mark burning softly on her skin, and from beneath Blackthorn Citadel, the ancient knocking stopped. Mara returned to Blackthorn Citadel not as the girl who had fled through rain, but as the woman every hidden door had been waiting to recognize. Aldrich walked beside her through the main gates, not ahead of her, his black cloak around her shoulders and the moon lexicon held openly in her arms. The royal wolves followed in silence. Behind them, dawn touched the towers with a cold silver light, and every guard in the courtyard lowered his eyes when the mark on Mara's brow glowed beneath the rain. Word had already spread. The knocking beneath the citadel had stopped the moment the Lunareth mark appeared. The sealed chamber was quiet. The lower passages no longer shook. And that silence frightened the council more than any roar could have. In the Hall of Records, Lord Osric stood before the black marble table with Lady Isolde at his side, both dressed as if dignity could hide guilt. The council filled the chamber. Scholars clutched scrolls. Nobles whispered behind jeweled hands. Then Aldrich entered, and every whisper died. "Repeat the moon trial," he said. Osric bowed too slowly. "Your Majesty, the council has already witnessed enough disorder." Aldrich's eyes turned winter gold, then witnessed the truth. Mara stepped forward. Her servant's shoes had been ruined in the forest, but she did not care. The same nobles who had called her stray now watched her as if she carried the moon under her skin. Isolde lifted her chin. "A glowing mark does not make a queen." Mara looked at her calmly.
"No,
truth does." Torrin placed 3 items on the table, the false parchment, the moon lexicon, and the moon crown. Osric's mouth tightened when he saw the altered ink exposed by the shattered moonstone. "This is theater," he said.
No, Mara answered.
"This is grammar." A ripple of unease moved through the hall. She opened the lexicon and read the original passage in Eldrin first, her voice clear, steady, and impossible to dismiss. Then she translated it into the common tongue. "The daughter of Lunareth shall close the dark beneath the throne and free the king from the ancient chain." A scholar leaned forward, pale. "That is not what Lord Osric presented." "Because Lord Osric changed one verb," Mara said. "He turned close into open. He turned shield into curse. He made a guardian sound like a threat." Osric's face hardened. "Servant blood should not sit in judgment over noble houses." Aldrich moved one step, but Mara lifted her hand. She did not need him to silence this for her.
"Not now."
"My mother's blood guarded your king, while your noble houses sold lies to the highest bidder." The moon crown rose from the table, dark at first, then slowly filling with light. Isolde reached for it in desperation. The crown drifted away from her touch and stopped before Mara. Every wolf in the hall felt the pressure of it and lowered their heads. Osric backed toward the council benches, but Torin was already there, holding the lower archive seal taken from Osric's own chain. The proof was simple. Heavy, final. The council turned on him like a tide. Aldrich's voice cut through the chamber. "Lord Osric Veilheart, you will be stripped of office and held for judgment under crown law. Lady Isolde Greymarch, you will answer for conspiracy before the full council."
No cruelty, no spectacle.
Just the collapse of power built on theft. Isolde stared at Mara with tears of rage shining in her eyes. But Mara felt no triumph, only the quiet ache of every year her mother had spent afraid. Aldrich turned to Mara before the entire court and lowered himself to one knee. The hall gasped. A king did not kneel. An Alpha King never knelt. Aldrich did. "Mara Veyne of Lunareth," he said, his voice rough with truth. "I misjudged you before my court, and I recognize you before my kingdom. Not as a servant, not as a secret, as the Luna Ravenholt was built to remember." The moon crown lowered toward Mara, but before it touched her hair, it broke apart into 1,000 threads of silver light. The light sank into her skin, her breath, her blood. Beneath the hall, the sealed chamber opened by itself, and from the darkness below came not a roar, but a voice speaking Eldrin through the stone. "The lock has returned, but the wolf beneath the crown is still chained." The voice beneath Blackthorn Citadel faded into the stone, leaving the hall of records so silent that Mara could hear the rain tapping against the high windows. The wolf beneath the crown is still chained. Every noble in the room looked toward Aldrich, but Aldrich looked only at Mara. There was no fear in his face, only the deep, exhausted understanding of a king who had carried a secret in his blood before he even knew its name. Mara felt the moon crown inside her now, not as metal, not as weight, but as a quiet silver fire moving with her heartbeat. She should have been terrified. An hour ago, the court had called her a liar. A day ago, she had been serving ale to men who did not know her name. Now the ancient laws of Ravenholt had chosen her in front of everyone. Still, when Aldrich rose from one knee, he did not reach for her like she was a prize he had won. He waited. That mattered more than every crown in the hall. Mara stepped toward him by choice. "I am not here to be hidden again," she said. Aldrich bowed his head, not to the court, but to her. "Then Ravenholt will learn to look at you." By sunset, the citadel bells rang across the valley. Not for war, not for mourning, for recognition. The lower archives were opened under Mara's command, and the first order she gave as Luna was not about jewels, thrones, or punishment. She ordered every locked shelf of forbidden language brought into the light. The next morning, servants, omegas, debt workers, and orphaned pack girls stood in the royal archive where scholars once sneered at them. Mara placed the moon lexicon on the table and said, "No one will be kept powerless by silence again." Some cried. Some stared as if kindness were the most dangerous magic of all. Aldrich stood at the back of the room, arms crossed, his expression unreadable to everyone except her. To the court, He was still the cold Alpha King of Ravenhold. To Mara, he was the man learning how to protect without possessing, how to trust without demanding proof, how to let a bond grow instead of closing his hand around it. Their mate bond did not complete in a flash of hunger or command. It settled slowly, like moonlight over snow. It grew in the quiet moments, Aldrich leaving warm tea beside her when she studied too late, Mara correcting his Eldrin with a smile instead of fear, his wolf calming whenever she entered the room, her heart no longer bracing for the next insult. On the night of the new moon, the entire kingdom gathered in the courtyard beneath Blackthorn Citadel. Mara wore no stolen jewels and no borrowed silk. She wore white velvet, a silver cloak, and the lunareth mark glowing softly at her brow. Aldrich stood beside her, tall and solemn, his gold eyes fixed on her as if the whole kingdom had become background noise. Before the pack, the council, the servants, and the wolves of Ravenhold, he offered his hand. Mara Veyne of Lunareth, he said, I choose you freely. Mara placed her hand in his. The bond answered, warm and bright, not a chain, but a door opening. Aldrich Thornvale, she said, I choose you with my eyes open. Silver light rose around them, gentle as breath, and every wolf in the courtyard bowed. Not because they were forced, because the hidden Luna had finally stopped hiding. For the first time in 26 years, the towers of Blackthorn shone under the moon. Yet deep below the citadel, beyond the restored archives and the sealed stair, a single black door remained closed. Torrin found it before dawn. On its surface, fresh Eldrin letters had appeared where no hand could reach. When the hidden Luna wakes the crown, the chained wolf will remember his true name. And behind the door, something answered with Aldrich's heartbeat.